On this video, I'm going to be replacing the piston and cylinder on the Stihl 044 chainsaw. Unfortunately, the scoring on the piston transferred onto the cylinder wall. I tried to clean up the transfer. I can still feel it with my fingernails, so there is no way that I can just put a piston on here without replacing the slant fin cylinder. It's really sad. I really tried to save it. I wish I could, but it's not going to happen in this case. So I asked the customer what they wanted to do. They told me that they wanted to go with a high-end aftermarket part, so I chose a HyWay to do this saw. And unfortunately on this saw it needed a new carburetor. The original carburetor was a Zama carburetor, and if you know anything about the 044 saws, they had a long run where they had different parts, different carburetors. So generation 1 Zama carburetor, the only ones that were available were the Walbro carburetor, and unfortunately the Walbro carburetors had the big air port on there that I did not need on this saw. So I had to go looking for a cover plate. I did find the cover plate so I could swap that out on a brand new Walbro carburetor so I could replicate as close as possible to the Zama carburetor that it came with. So now we got the HyWay piston and cylinder combo. I've got the brand new Walbro carburetor on there. I'm going to show you guys how this is done, tearing it apart, putting it back together, and we're going to get this saw running back out in the field.
First thing I'm going to do is remove the air filter cover, air filter, and then this bracket that the air filter mounts onto. Once we get that done, we're going to remove this plastic housing so that way we can access the carburetor. I need to take the shroud off, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the spark plug off so that way I can remove the shroud. To get the shroud off, there's one screw on the clutch side and there's 2 screws on the recoil side. 3 screws to get the shroud off, and once you get that off, take the shroud, just wiggle it back and forth till it pops off. There's a beautiful slant fin cylinder, but unfortunately it is scored too bad we can't save it. Now I'm going to remove the carburetor as well as the throttle, and then I can access the manifold boot so that way I can pull off the cylinder. Make sure to remove this retainer ring so that way you can push the manifold back through. Next, I'm going to pop the muffler off. There's going to be 4 screws on the front, 2 shorter ones on the top, 2 longer ones on the bottom. And then once you get this initial cover off, there's going to be 2 more screws inside there that hold the rest of the housing on. The 2 screws are located, one on each side of the exhaust port. Most of the time the gaskets are fine. You can save those and reuse them. Sometimes they're cracked and you need to replace them. Next, remove the 4 bolts that hold on the cylinder. There's going to be a T27 screw, so just take your drill impact and take those back off. Once you get the 4 cylinder bolts loosened up and taken out, you can lift the cylinder and pop it off the piston. I did take a look at the cylinder. There is quite a bit of scoring on there. I could not get all the transfer off. I tried sanding it down. It did clean up pretty good, but there's a couple deep gouges that I couldn't get out. Here's a look at the new HyWay kit that I got to do the aftermarket rebuild on here. These HyWay kits are pretty nice. I've used them quite a bit, and I haven't had any issues with them. So this is one of my go-tos for aftermarket. This particular kit has rings that you need to install on your piston. If you bought an OEM Stihl one, the rings are already on the piston, so just be aware of that. Also comes with a base gasket, a spark plug, and then inside the cylinder, it's going to have 2 circlips. It's going to have a wrist pin and a needle cage. And they packed a little goodie bag up under the piston, so just be aware that it's under there. In order to remove the existing piston, I got to take the circlip off. I've got a little hook tool that I use to grab onto it and pry it out. You're going to want to use one of these little pointed tools. A screwdriver does not work very well. I've tried it before, just doesn't help. However, once you get the circlip off, you can use your screwdriver to push the wrist pin through to the other side. As you can see, this piston is completely smoked, had straight gas run through it. The rings are seated in there, so there was no way this was going to run. Now to prep the new piston, I'm going to put in a circlip on one side here. And these particular ones have a little nub that you can grab onto with needle nose pliers. So you basically set one end of it in there and turn till it falls into place. If you look at the top of the piston, there's an arrow. The arrow always points towards the exhaust port. So on this particular piston, I want to put the circlip on the side that's going to be on the side with the clutch. Now I'm going to line the piston with the arm, and then I'm going to push in the wrist pin until it slides into place. Once you have the wrist pin pushed all the way in, now you can put the circlip on the other side and finish installing the piston. Again, you're going to hold on to this clip using that little nub right there, needle nose pliers, set the end in, and turn it until it falls into place in the groove. And don't forget your base gasket before you put the cylinder on. I use press fluid, which is basically a lightweight oil, to lubricate the top of the piston, so that way the cylinder slides over without friction. I'm going to put a piston block underneath the piston so that way it keeps it from going down to the crankcase when I'm trying to put on the cylinder. This red piece is going to be a ring clamp. I'm going to clamp the rings so that way they're compressed into the piston so I can slide the cylinder over top of it. What you're going to do is take the cylinder, set it on top of the piston, and as you're pushing down on the piston, you're going to slowly release the piston ring clamp. Once it slides all the way over the rings, now you can take the clamp off and finish seating it in the rest of the way. You're going to want to install the manifold before you screw the cylinder down so that way you can get it in position without having to fight. Don't forget to install the manifold clamp and secure that down with a screw. Just tighten the clamp until it's snug. You don't need to over tighten it, otherwise you could cut into the manifold. Now I'm going to push the manifold back through the hole so that way it's ready to install the carburetor. The best way to do this is grab some needle nose pliers and lightly pull it through. Otherwise, you can tie a rope to the other side and pull it through that way as well. Just be careful that you don't rip the manifold. You can rip it if you're pulling too hard with the needle nose pliers. These cylinder bolts are a tight fit, so I use a pair of tweezers to set them into place. They keep falling down like you can see right here, so it is a little bit of a struggle, but the tweezers do help them. And then once I get them set, then I'll lightly screw them in, just go around all the way and hit every single one of the screws so they're seated into place and make sure it's threaded right. And then once everything's seated, then go ahead and secure it all the way down and torque it to where the specs need to be. Don't forget this metal ring, it goes inside the manifold to keep it open. And also the second ring to hold it into place. Reinstall the recoil assembly and attach the 4 screws. Reinstall the muffler. Don't forget the gasket that goes behind it. There's going to be 2 screws that hold on the back half, and there's going to be 4 screws that hold on the front half. Now you can reinstall the spark plug. And reinstall the carburetor. Don't forget to install this rubber guide. This is going to help keep debris out of the carburetor housing area as well as make a quick access point for your adjustment screws. Now install the throttle lever and mount. Use a screwdriver to snap the throttle back into place. Reinstall the plastic housing, as well as the air filter mount. And secure the shroud on top, and don't forget the 2 screws on the side of the recoil and the 1 screw on the side of the clutch. Install the air filter and the air filter cover. Now I'm going to add some fresh fuel and go give it a test run. The carburetor on the saw wouldn't start, so I had to order a new one. The carburetor that it had on there was a Zama carburetor. They no longer made those, so I had to get a Walbro, except the Walbro carburetor had this air port on the top, which I did not need, so I had to buy a cover plate and swap that out before I could put it back on the saw. Anytime you're dealing with the restoration of older saws, you're going to run into parts availability problems. Sometimes you can find the parts OEM aftermarket on eBay. Sometimes you can't, so you can't be picky. You got to make things work the best you can. Once I got this new carburetor put on the machine, I started it up outside and the thing worked great. So whatever was wrong with the other carburetor, I did clean it out. It still wasn't taking care of the issue. Probably something failing internally that wasn't worth fixing. Here's the carburetor side by side. The left is the new carburetor, the Walbro. The one on the right is the Zama. Some slight modifications that are different on the two units, but overall they do work the same. Drop the carburetor in and I'll show you how it works.
Thanks for watching the video. If you guys found the video helpful, make sure you guys drop a like down below and subscribe to my channel. I've got other great content on there, tools, tips, and tricks that I use on a daily basis to get customers' equipment fixed and right back out the door. And make sure you guys check out the description down below. In the description, you'll find Amazon affiliate links. That is a great way to support my channel. Make sure you guys take a look through those because I do list the tools that I use in the videos as well as accessories that I think you guys will find helpful. And again, thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you guys next time.